Greetings, nomads, party people, and strangers everywhere across the internet, and welcome to the premiere of After Hours Reviews, where I just recently saw Black Panther in theaters, which is probably going to be the only Marvel movie I will take seriously from the year on. And for the reason of that is because, unlike most other films that I've seen from Marvel, with the weird twist that they try to do with the formula that I've really detested in the last couple of years, this film actually does stuff that takes its own formula but makes it rejuvenized in ways that I've never seen Marvel do. Before we go into those essences, let's go into why I chose Black Panther as the premiere instead of other films that came out in January. In comparison to most other films that came out in the year, sure, some were more action-packed, some were more well-written, but in the regards of what to make of how you want a product to be made, Black Panther was probably the smartest thing to come out this year because of not only how influential it is for not only comic book fans, but black people in general that barely have good representation without it coming from a negative stereotype. Luke Cage being a superhero but coming from prison. Falcon being a black superhero along with War Machine, but they're deemed as sidekicks, but only now getting lead roles because of a PC culture. Many different characters come into play from American medium alone that have really sad backstories except for very few characters. And from a character like Black Panther, who is an actual African king that has his own nation and can become a superhero without having any negative connotations towards it, is groundbreaking for inspiration, groundbreaking for an idealism, and groundbreaking for those that want to be like, I want to grow up to be a hero just like this character in fiction was. I can make a difference and still feel strong, still feel confident in my skin. That is, in essence, the first reason why I chose Black Panther. The second reason is because, like many people that are minorities, I take inspiration from various characters and people that aren't really people that could pass as being heroes in other people's norms. And since we all know I have melanin, a lot of the characters I look up to are minorities. Hispanic heroes, Native American heroes, black heroes, Asian heroes, Polynesian heroes. Those guys help shape my whole idealism about what I want to have a hero for, what I want to have a story for. And reading those characters a lot, studying those characters a lot, made me appreciate my own skin and made me feel very comfortable to where I am today. Those two very huge factors are the main reason why this is the premiere of After Hours Reviews before I try to pass on the crown for the year. Now then, let us go into the film itself without going to spoiler territory since I'm practicing a no spoiler rule. So, to kick off how the film starts, it's technically a week after the events of Captain America Civil War, aka Avengers 3 Civil War, where T'Challa, aka Black Panther, is starting to finally get his actual crown for Wakanda, the hidden nation in Africa, where he, his sister Shuri, his mother, his ex-girlfriend that's a spy, are trying to find someone that stole very valuable vibranium, a super finite material only in the Marvel Universe that's even stronger than adamantium. Is kind of still on the run, and they're trying to capture this person, but at the same time they have a small little issue from a well-known villain within Black Panther's run of Killmonger. And from those small essences, it becomes a whole thing of lineage, identity, what to fight for, what is the true principle of life, how to really be a ruler, where does true strength come from, who your allies can truly be, and what you can make of yourself when you see what your legacy was born upon. And from those regards, a lot of people would try to see this as a jumping stone for a lot of different Marvel films that come to mind. Tony Stark, for instance, since he has that same idealism from his first film. However, there were a lot of things that broke the mold for the formula in ways that I never expected them to, that I actually appreciated. Instead of trying to just have the whole, oh, I learned my lesson midway through the story, let's continue it on from there. They actually had T'Challa try to struggle with things in a realistic way that someone from a real regal family would honestly struggle with, in an honest to God portrayal I've never seen in Marvel. I've only seen characters try to just get justified for, like, oh, I abused this one privilege, and because I fought my way through without said blah blah blah, I can now get my skill back. Or, oh, I got betrayed by this one group I barely know, so now I'm just gonna be screwed out of luck until I get a small ragtag group. With this, it actually had a grounded foundation upon what the traditions were that ended up having T'Challa lose his way, like in the Marvel formula, and get his own rite of passage back, get his own 2 feet back to where he was to fight his antagonist. Where, unlike a lot of people where it's just a bland character that was just born about by simple arrogance made by the main protagonist, or doing stuff that would just be horrid to anyone that couldn't cheer for the villain, Michael B. Jordan playing as Killmonger was probably the greatest villain in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you want to disregard Kilgrave for being a fantastically sinister villain with no real love for, but you just love because he's David Tennant. With Killmonger, it's more or less his idealism is kind of a stark parallel to what a lot of people felt like from real-life connotations of what Wakanda kind of stands for. For many people that don't know this, there were a lot of rich parts of Africa that actually could have saved their brothers and sisters that were stolen away to America during the European colonization and slavery. But they chose not to because for whatever ideals that they had, they felt like if they were to save their fellow men from being stolen away, they wouldn't feel grateful, and from just doing so would cause too many issues. With Wakanda, from not only this film, but alluded in a lot of other films, and even in the comics, kept a very Stonewall approach about trying to help out the world from anybody, even people that look just like them in the heart of the nation. And that's something that Killmonger truly despised, and because of that byproduct, it wasn't T'Challa that gave birth to the villain, it was the nation. It was that idealism of closing off borders from people that you yourself see dead in your face. Why this isn't a good thing. Why you shouldn't have disregarded anybody just because of simple tradition and idealism saying, we can't save our own because they're not from this land anymore. They're outsiders. Along with those lines, you can't really fault what happens throughout all the events on just that. You also see what the decadence about letting that hatred just drive you does to a villain. And that's something that was just as well compelling as well as despicable. But that's something you don't really get from other villains. You see that they have twisted motivations because of very blatant and dry sort of tones and testaments, but never anything substantial, never anything that you could see the actual hero struggling to see because they had no idea these actions happened. They had no control over these to begin with. And because of that, this is why this film is even greater than what most people imagine just from the action or from how it's well written or because of how it's edited. The subtle subtext and how it's trying to mold into a brand new adventure for many people that don't understand what it's like to see the black perspective or minority perspective in general, because it's not just black people that feel this way every day of just feeling like they have to close off stuff from their own people. When you travel the world, you see that from a lot of individuals that see how they treat others that weren't born from there. It's kind of heart-wrenching to see that when you're a minority and how eye-opening it is to the narrative. From that whole standpoint, this isn't just a simple superhero movie just because it's something that was action-packed or made by Marvel. It's a superhero movie because it took chances that not a lot of films did. The actors, the director, the editors, everyone going into this project knew that this story was more than just action-based. The subtext, all the context clues, everything about this built itself up to be something of a monumental legacy building stone for many individuals that wanted to see what it's like to truly admire someone that is a true minority hero in a world filled with nothing but pale Caucasian faces or simple robots or people that have to paint themselves to be aliens to be in a fucking franchise. This is what you do to represent all races for a film. This is what you do to make sure you show everyone what it can be to be a hero no matter what line you walk. And from those regards, I can go into all the other stuff. The action, pretty well fucking done. Editing, all of the CGI effects, all of the kinetic abilities that they do for Black Panther to be translated from the comics to the fucking film were spectacular. Dialogue, although some of it was very witty and some of it was a little cheesy and other stuff was just spot on, it all kind of molded together to be a finite web of masterpiece and glory for something of a start of the year. Maybe not the greatest film of the year, but definitely one of the best fucking films. But I'm not going to talk to you guys as if it's just a simple film because it's never going to be that. It's never that fucking simple. This is definitely a statement that only certain directors want you to know. That this is definitely the day and age where it's not just simple to make a minority hero. Minorities are complex. Minorities have finite stories that are deserved to be told. And it's finally time that we admit this, guys. So, let's now go into the favorites of characters, of moments, of villains, and of motivation clips. For my favorite character, it's always going to be Black Panther because, well, T'Challa is definitely one of my top 5 favorite heroes of all time. As well as my favorite scene, it would have to be during the big climactic fight between Black Panther and Killmonger in the most spectacular ways that I will not spoil for you guys because, you know, this is a non-spoiler review. My favorite villain between the Andy Serkis and Killmonger, I'm still going with Killmonger because of how more complex that he was as a character. You guys didn't like the fact that he was just subdued? Well, how the fuck do you guys think minorities felt for years in cinemas? And my favorite motivational clip of the entire film was none other than T'Challa speaking to his ancestors when he took a bite from the heart-shaped fruit. I'm not going to say what the dialogue was because, like I said, no spoilers. As well as for the least favorite things in the entire film. Least favorite character, for better or for worse, I would have to say it's Agent Ross who appeared in the film. I don't know what it is, but Agent Ross never appealed to me as a character. He just kind of appealed to me as an asshole that simply worked for the US government. And I fucking hate that idealism. He did have redeeming qualities in this film, don't get me wrong, but he just seemed like an asshole. Least favorite scene in the whole film would definitely have to be, let's see, definitely would have to be during the second ritual fight that you guys will have to see to believe. I don't know what it is, but it just felt like they purposely wrote it so that character A let character B get all those hits in out of insert motivation here, if you guys know what I mean. Least favorite villain of the film, definitely Andy Serkis, because he just seemed like one of those supremacists that pretty much hated a lot of people and wanted to take what they wanted and incite a war within their own time span. it kind of rubbed me the wrong way because I've met people like that, and that's not comforting. That's not something I wanted to see in a film, and that's very sad. And finally, least motivational scene in the movie would probably be the flashback scene that we get of the original Black Panther of T'Chaka doing something with Kilgrave's father. I'm just going to let that moment sit in right there for you guys about what that means. So from all that sort of stuff, let's go into the ratings now for Black Panther, where I'm going to award this entire film first I'll be generous. I'll give it a 12.5 out of 13, mostly because a lot of the stuff I saw from this film impressed me. A lot of the things involving the actors was incredible choicing. How they wrapped up the entire story was very believable, and that post-credit scene, that's why it's only a 12.5, because I don't really care much for the post-credit scene, even though I know it's super important. Next up is going to be for the letter grade, where I'm going to be awarding this film with an A+. Definitely saving it for probably one of the better films of the year, but not the most perfect film I've seen in a long time. It's on caliber of being one of the best films I've seen in the 2010s, along with The Shape of Water, or with The Foreigner, or even with Logan from last year, but definitely not the most perfect film I have seen. And finally, we're going to be awarding this film with 6.5 out of 7 stars, giving it an excellent rating for anyone that wants to see this film, definitely stamping it with the seal of approval of the Mooney and Effie medal, because it is so sublimely incredible and so angelically and amazingly alluring that you definitely have to see this film at your earliest convenience. Or if you're having money problems, don't worry, it'll eventually get onto the networks that you guys are already paying for, and you'll get DVDs for said film. For alternate recommendations, I point you guys to, let's see, definitely Captain America Civil War if you're looking for more Black Panther action, or if you're looking for something a little bit more subdued into how to have various varieties of parkour-y / sticking it to the man type stories. If that's your thing, I point you guys to an older film of Takers that was pretty much made by rapper T.I. It may not be just as great as Black Panther, but definitely will satisfy your taste for anything involving parkour action, sticking it to the man, and having a very unique ensemble of both black and white characters just doing what they want to do against the law and trying to do certain stuff that feels very shady, like most characters in certain stories. Well guys, with that being said, I'm now going to be putting down my crown for After Hours reviews, and if my little sister Jasmine is watching, Jazz, until I find another film that brings me back to my throne, the crown goes to you. Make sure you rock out 2018 with a bunch of After Hours reviews in my stead, because only you and your love of movies can pretty much take over for what I've done in this legacy. Well guys, I've been V, and Wakanda forever. I'll see all of you lovely little nomads, party people, and strangers everywhere in my next video.
You crazy mother.